According to Greek mythology, Zeus released two eagles at each end of the world. The eagles flew back towards the center, where they met at Delphi. Zeus then proclaimed that Delphi was the center of the world and marked it with omphalos, or navel stones. In other words, Delphi was the belly button of Mother Earth. Not only is this an interesting story, but it should provide some perspective to how important the Temple of Apollo at Delphi was to the Greeks. In their eyes, Delphi represented the center of the world they inhabited, and therefore an important conduit between it and the mystical realm. Although many sanctuaries and temples throughout the Greco-Roman world practiced divination, or the practice of seeking knowledge of the future or the unknown by supernatural means, the oracle at Delphi was arguably the most famous, in part due to its mythological location as the center of the world. Furthermore, while other temples divinized often by examining the entrails of animals, smoke patterns from a fire, or how water rippled when a pebble was thrown into it, at Delphi, the female oracle, known as the Pythia, acted as a direct conduit with the god Apollo and the supernatural. Today, we will talk about three famous stories related to Delphi. The first story has to do with Alexander the Great, the Macedonian king who created one of the largest empires in history, stretching from Greece to northwestern India. Alexander the Great was famous for having never lost a battle, and he certainly did not lose the battle he had with the Pythia, who was the head priestess at Delphi. Like many great kings before him, Alexander decided to visit Delphi to consult the oracle regarding his upcoming campaign against the Persians. Unfortunately, the day that he arrived was not a day that the Pythia held consultations. At Delphi, the day that the oracle was available was always the seventh day after a new moon that began a month. Living up to the popular image of a brash young king, Alexander stayed true to this public perception and started to drag the priestess to the temple of Apollo, where she could prophesize. While being dragged, she loudly uttered, "You are invincible, my son." Hearing this, Alexander released his grip and said he needed no other prophecy. The second story is that of King Croesus of Lydia, who ruled during the 6th century BCE. Lydia was a large kingdom incorporating the western half of modern-day Turkey, which also included the Greek Ionian cities on the coast. By all accounts, Croesus appears to have been incredibly wealthy and ruled during a period when Lydia was quite powerful. He is also described as being full of hubris, or excessive pride and self-confidence. According to the ancient historian Herodotus, Croesus once asked the famous Athenian statesman Solon who the happiest man in the world was after showing him his vast wealth. Solon goes on to name 4 other people that he thought were happier, and subtly cautioned King Croesus about his hubris. The geopolitical situation for Lydia at the time of King Croesus appeared to be good. He had excellent relations with the Median Empire to his east, and his kingdom was surrounded by the Aegean and Black Sea elsewhere. In 550 BCE, the Median king Astyages is overthrown by the Persian king Cyrus the Great, who established the nascent Persian Empire. Unsure as to how to react to this new Persian kingdom, Croesus sent a messenger to the oracle at Delphi as to whether he should make war with the new Persian king. The initial response was that if he made war with the Persians, he would destroy a great empire. Obviously, this is an ambiguous statement, as it could just as well mean his empire than that of the Persians. A following inquiry resulted in this response from the Pythia: "Lydian, beware of the day when a mule is lord of the Medians. Then with thy delicate feet, by the stone-strewn channel of Hermus, flee for thy life, nor abide, nor blush for the name of a craven." Let's examine this passage more carefully. The oracle at Delphi is telling Croesus that he should flee across the Hermus, which was a river in central Turkey, when a mule becomes king. Croesus interpreted this to be a favorable response to go to war, since the present king of the Median Persian kingdom was not in fact a literal mule. Assembling his forces, Croesus goes to war with King Cyrus of Persia and is defeated at the Battle of Pteria and the Battle of Thymbra. As the tale goes, Croesus, blinded by hubris, failed to realize that Cyrus was half Median by his mother and half Persian by his father, and therefore considered a metaphorical mule. A mule is the offspring of a donkey and a horse. The Persian victory led to expansion of the Persian Empire to the Aegean Sea and direct contact with the Greek cities on the coast of Turkey. It can be argued that Croesus' defeat set into motion the eventual invasions of Greece by the Persian kings Darius and Xerxes a half-century later. As I mentioned earlier, the Persian conquest of Lydia brought them into direct contact with the greater Greek world, including powerful city-states such as Athens and Sparta. In fact, the tale of Croesus and the oracle at Delphi leads us directly into our third and final story. In 480 BCE, an enormous Persian army under King Xerxes invaded mainland Greece. After conquering a number of the other Greek city-states, the Persian army began its march on Athens. The Athenians consulted the oracle regarding the pending Persian arrival and received this rather disheartening response. "Wretches, why tarry thus? Nay, flee from your houses and city. Flee to the ends of the earth from the circle embattled of Athens." The Athenians were greatly dismayed after hearing this. However, they decided to approach the oracle one last time and were told the following: "Yet shall a wood-built wall by Zeus all-seeing be granted. Unto the Triton born, a stronghold for thee and thy children. Bide not still in thy place, for the host that cometh from landward cometh with horsemen and foot. But rather withdraw, it is coming. Turning thy back to the foe, thou shalt meet him in battle. Salamis, Isle Divine." In this second statement, the Pythia makes a cryptic comment that Zeus will provide a wood-built wall, counsels the Athenians to retreat from the Persians, and hints at the importance of an island called Salamis off the coast of Athens. The Athenians famously retreated from Athens and concentrated on building up their navy rather than defending the city. The wooden ship holes were thought to be the wooden walls in the oracular statement. Luckily for the Athenians, their interpretation of what the Pythia said was far more accurate than that of poor King Croesus of Lydia. The Athenians did in fact retreat from Athens, which the Persian king Xerxes captured and razed to the ground, including everything on the Acropolis. However, the Athenian navy was now prepared, and they won a stunning naval victory at Salamis, thereby fulfilling the Delphic prophecy, marking the beginning of the end of the Persian invasion of Greece, and ushering in the fabled Greek classical period. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out my other videos on the Mediterranean during antiquity.